fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here. And now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Dorzaya, who, he has finally made it to the capital. It was a small little detour, but it was worth it. In the last few parts, Dorzaya, after faking his death on the human side of the warfront, has come to the demi-human nation, where he's discovered that slavery is still a thing on this side. However, it is outlawed and illegal, so it is practiced in secret. Him accidentally disguising himself as a member of the Black Wolf clan, and being kidnapped. Now, Midoriya, after faking his kidnapping, murdered everybody and started an urban legend, where, if you are involved in anything to do with trafficking people, you will be haunted down by the boogeyman. A spirit will haunt you down and annihilate you, wipe you out and leave nothing behind but the slaves of survivors. Now, this was quite intriguing. Midoriya, he knows that people will find out that, since he came into town, he would be hunted, or at least people would try and come after him, trying to prove that the spirit is just a man. So Midoriya, he bought an ability that would allow him to clone himself, a monoclone, and sent 5 of them out into the nation. Now, with that being said, everybody was beginning to get settled in and grown accustomed to how things are in the capital. Now, Midoriya, he has been looking around, and he's been at least looking into many different things. He wants to find a way to get the attention of the 10 nation, commanders, or the kings and queens of the 10 nations. He knows that it will be tricky. However, there is an upcoming event that will actually be very, very good for Midoriya's exact reason. The event is being held by the King of the Onis. And if you really do want to call it as it is, it can be best described as a re-election. A massive tournament will be held, where opponents will face off against one another in a large forest. And the winner, they will be given the crown and be called the King of the Onis. Now, this event, anybody can participate in. As the Onis do see it, only the strongest should lead their people. And Midoriya, he did find this to be quite fascinating. He knows that he will win this competition, and he's very interested. Apparently the king, he's been left undefeated for the last few years. And this did surprise Midoriya. A man who sits on the throne and is strong. This has got to be some sort of joke. Now, this does pique Midoriya's curiosity, as he does want to train and continue to grow stronger, to face off against his opponent. Now, Midoriya has done just that. Around this land, you do have the White Wolf, the identity Midoriya is currently masquerading as. He is a well-known adventurer, and many different people say that he's from the outskirts of the kingdom, He is seen as a prodigy and is supposedly very strong. Now, Midoriya, he's registered at the local guild and has taken on quests, and many of them are monster hunting things. Midoriya, time and time again, proving that he is unstoppable. He's faced off against giant wolves, giant bears, an army of orcs, and he's even delved into looking into the underworld. Him actually even taking down an entire group of ogres that were involved in human trafficking. And Midoriya, he showed no mercy. Now, he did free these slaves, and there was actually a bit of a ceremony that was held for him. He's proven time and time again to be a worthy adventurer. And we do actually have today, roughly a few months later, where the competition is going to be coming up soon. It has been about 4 months since then, meaning that Midoriya, he spent a total of half a year in the demi-human nation. Now, he is just trying to think. If he's correct, Christmas was last month. So, it is strange. The seasons around here, they're very similar to his home, but at the same time, they're different. The demi-human kingdom, they do show slight variations. And even then, apparently a lot of things are going on right now. From what he can tell, the Ten Kingdom Alliance has been slowly growing more and more unsteady. There are a large number of things going on, and apparently they're spreading themselves far too thin. There's a battlefront against the humans, and then there's ideas that resources are becoming more and more scarce and farmland is getting depleted. Then there's also the fact that one of the alliances, their kingdom is specifically growing more and more harder to maintain. The kingdom that does produce the fresh water from the ocean, using some ancient techniques that were left behind. Now, we do actually have Midoriya, who he is at about, let's just say level 142. He has been trying to find unique monsters or legendary monsters, but he hasn't been able to. Now, you also do have Bella, who she is past rank 70. And Midoriya, he's been training her intensely in the art of magic. She has been able to use spells that are around level 5 to level 7. And today, she even did produce her first level 8 fireball. And you do actually have Lee, who she is actually not too far behind, or actually too far above. She's getting closer to rank 100. She's rank 80. Ray, the Oni, and half-elf, she just broke through 100. And you do actually even have Tori. After she did recover and get physically better, Midoriya did start to take her out on quest. And they did start out low, since the guild, they wanted to assign him low-level missions at first, as they had no idea who this guy was. And Midoriya, he did even have her pick up a sword. Now, he did begin to start training her in many different things. And she did begin to at least show she was improving more. And with how many missions she's gone on to try and grow stronger, she's actually above rank 50. Now, we do actually have where Midoriya and his allies, they all do head into the area for the tournament that will be held by the Onis. Now, we do actually have where there's a lot of people in every direction. There are thousands and thousands of men here. Midoriya, he can tell. And it's all quite strange. Now, the king, he does go to stand up off of his throne. As he doesn't go to bring his hand up, and everyone does see him. The man informing all of them that today is the annual tournament, and he believes that all of them are capable and strong fighters. His blood is pumping for today. He hopes that one of them will be able to challenge him in battle and take him on. Now, Midoriya, he does then look up towards the sky, as the man he did throw his hand up. Now, this is where the man does talk about how in a few minutes a transportation circle will be formed by their mages. And afterwards, they will all be transported to a location in the forest. The location, it is completely barren for 100 miles around. And that does mean that all of them will be fighting within this range. The tournament should last several days or even possibly a month. If it does, so be it. And once this is all said and done, the person who is left standing last will be crowned the new ruler of the Oni nation. Now, a lot of people are fired up. Some of the Oni warriors, they're roaring out and screaming. As you actually have Midori who's staying there, and his allies. Many different men trying to at least talk about how if they get, crowned king, and trying to ask one of these girls out to a date. As we actually do have Midoriya, who whenever a guy was hitting on, let's just say Belle, and she was getting uncomfortable, he did just go to bring up his hand with his katana, informing the man that if he doesn't leave her alone, then he's going to spill his blood. Really now? White Wolf, you really shouldn't be here. Really? And why is that? Because I'm going to be the king of the Onis. Now, Midoriya does start to use his bloodlust, as all of a sudden throughout the entire area, everybody, they do feel that. Many different people turning around at this feeling. Intense and raw power. Along with that, the intent to kill rising so high. Midoriya directly staying in front of the man and asking exactly who decided that. As the man does go to drop to his knees, and Midoriya just stare directly down at him. As we do actually have from the man's point of view. He's looking up. You have Midoriya's glowing red eyes. As his vision turns black, and he does see something behind Midoriya. What appears to be a giant dragon going to reach out. The man then actually going to turn and book it as he does run away. And we actually do have where the king of the Onis and everybody in the stadium, they are staring his way. And the man he actually is going to check his chest. That's strange. For a minute he actually felt panic. Now, you do actually have Midoriya who is staying there staring directly at the king. As the king he does stare directly down at Midoriya. And Midoriya here is going to bring his hand up. Now, the king he does smile. As all of them are transported away into the forest. Now, we do have where Midoriya, as soon as all of them are transported away, we do have where he is alone. Him looking around as he does just wonder exactly what is going on here. Now, he does get to look at his stats. All of them are maxed out. And all the ones that he does currently have, he has them at good levels. So, he's going to need to actually hold back here. Otherwise, there's going to be a big problem. Within this tournament, killing is not recommended. However, it's not outlawed. The Onis know for a fact that death in battle, it's the most highest honor you can give to them. And that you disgrace an opponent by leaving them alive. And today the king, he has announced this tournament, and he has given out the rules. Now, this does mean that any human, or not any human, any species that goes against the Oni, they do have to be careful. They knew the risk entering the tournament. and they know the risk about fighting an Oni in a battle. Now, we do have where everyone does watch, and they do actually pay attention to the White Wolf, along with the King. Now, many different people try to fight against Midoriya. Midoriya using his bare hands and just showing off his raw talent. As you actually have for an Oni, he's trying to fight Midoriya with two blades. And Midoriya, he's talking to the guy about how he really should just give up. And Midoriya, he's dodging and weaving out of the way. The guy's moving at heightened speeds, and everyone they are just watching. They can barely see this guy move. However, they do just see a fury of blades sweeping forwards out in front. As Midoriya, he does just go to grab both of the blades with his hands. Everyone's seen that he did stop the blades with 2 fingers. I told you you're really outclassed. Midoriya bringing up his leg and directly kicking right through the guy's body. And the guy he does look down to see Midoriya's leg. You should be considered honorable. I'll tell you that much. What did it say? I'm going to bring his hand up as he does directly stab into the man's head with his sword before pulling it free. Now, many people did consider that to be brutal. However, they did also consider that to be merciful since Midoriya, he went for the kill immediately. And they do realize that this guy's not playing around. Now, this tournament, it does last. And we even do have where it does run into the night. Midoriya is currently sitting there with a fire. And he is waiting. He doesn't hear any opponents nearby yet. However, he is just wondering. Many of them will come to the smell of the fire and smoke. Along with that, even, let alone just being out here by himself and looking vulnerable is bad. Midoriya actually going to pull something out of his pocket as he does begin to at least gnaw on what appears to be a piece of dried meat. And he does just think, okay, so I took out, what was that? 70 different Tonys today? They keep trying to track me down. Then again, it is pretty curious. What do you just think? Him turning as he does hear an explosion in the distance. Okay, that's fun. What are you just thinking? He really should be waiting for people to come to him. However, at the same time, he also does want to fight the current king. That man's supposed to be strong. And if Morty does take him out and take that crown from him, he'll show that the king isn't the MVP here. And he'll win. Now, the battle does rage on. And Midoriya, he does stay by himself for the night. As we actually do have where Bell, Lee, and Ray, they have all teamed up. Along with Tori. Now, people were surprised about this team. They knew that the guy was with those girls. And they're wondering if they're using him to get the numbers run down and eventually win. However, they're also thinking that the guy, he might be using them as shield, you could say. However, they do actually think differently. Watching as these 4, they're at least fighting with a lot of honor. And they're even showing exactly how powerful they really are. And you do even have Belle, who she is wearing armor along with at least the staff and magical stone Midoriya has bought her. Now, you do have where she does face off against another sorcerer, or another mage if you will, and they're casting spells at her and trying to fight. Her moving out of the way as she also doesn't then at least try to dodge. Her then going to bring up her hands and throw out a fireball herself. Now, she does cast a level 3 spell as this person does hit her with a level 5. And she just gets sent flying away. Her hitting the ground as she does get back up. Her going to reach for her staff as she then look their way and cast a spell. Now, she casts a level 6 fireball their direction, as they themselves do go to bring up their hands and directly block the attack with a shield made of mana. Now, the person, they do start to walk forwards. informing her that her skills are quite noble, and that not many people could make a level 6 spell quite like that. As they do go to bring up their staff and inform her that this fight is over. Her then simply smiling, as we actually do have Lee, who she does lunge in at high speeds. The person going to dodge out of the way as she does directly kick their staff in half. And they do take the top half, that channels magical power. Now, this was quite a surprise, as she does then do one thing. Belle goes to bring up her hand and she does cast a level 7 spell. The person, quite surprised, they do try and bring up their hands and use a regular mana barrier. However, it's blasted away and they're flung into the trees. And then we do actually have, well, Tori. She's wielding a sword, and she's trying to fight. However, with her and Ray teaming up, it's quite challenging. These two are covering each other's backs, and it's real good that they are. They're facing a lot of challenges, and they are wondering exactly how far they'll make it before they're eliminated. Then we do cut back to Midoriya, who he's moving his way directly through the entire forest quickly. He's already taken down 20 different opponents today with his bare hands. And people that do see this man. He moves at high speeds and shows incredible strength. Along with that, there's the fact that not many people can get away from those enhanced senses of a wolf. He's quite literally playing the hunter and taking many of them down. Now, the battles do rage on for days. And we do have eventually where Belle, Lee, Ray, and, well, Tori, they all do get eliminated. However, they do all last far longer than they should have. And, well, it was quite the surprise that they were able to escape with their lives. Since whenever any one of them could not fight anymore, they did simply say the words, I give up, or I concede, as they were then transported back to the regular stadium, where many people they've already given up, and some who are still alive do still reside. Now, this was quite the surprise, as you do actually have where people are watching, and they're very curious. Many different people have all placed bets, and with how far things have already gone, there's only at least 2 contenders that they believe will eventually win. As we do cut down to the time later, let's say a few days where it's just boiled down to these 2 men. Now, we do have where Midoriya and the king are teleported back to the stadium. Both of them quite surprised as they do look down at their hands. I'm back. I don't remember saying I lost. Sir, this is part of the finals. What? Yes, please allow me to explain. Them explaining that the final battle or final duel will be between these 2 men, and they'll be fighting here. Now, Midoriya, he does look around, and he doesn't look back at the king, knowing for a fact this guy is no damn fool. This guy's an Oni. Onis, they have no preference for magic. This man wants a fist fight. He wants a duel or a blade battle. And Midoriya, he does know this. As Midoriya, he does go to pull off his armor and undo it. Many different people watching him do this. As he does toss it towards the ground and inform the king, as he does put his hands up, that this type of fight is more his style anyways. And he'd at least like to see what the man does have. Midoriya looking at the man's level. The man is 150. So, this should be good. Now, the man and Midoriya, they do both rush each other. And many people they do watch. As Midoriya does suddenly rush in and directly punch down into the king's guts. As the king, he does get hit by the attack before trying to slam downwards with a karate chop into Midoriya's shoulder, Midoriya quickly looking up, he just bring his hands up and block, and then throwing up his other foot and kicking high. As the king, he does dodge backwards and away from the kick, which could have taken off his head. Now, Midoriya, he does backflip as he does then land, him bring his hands down to the ground as he does then rush in once again. And the man, he does get on guard. Midoriya actually sliding underneath the man's legs, he does then grab them and then go to throw himself over, him kicking the man directly in the back, shoulder blades directly in the middle, as the man does go to try and reach backwards and then spin around, him trying to grab Midoriya. Midoriya being grabbed by his legs, he tried to jump away. The man grabbing Midoriya is just slam him over and over again into the ground. And Midoriya, he does just do one thing. He's trying to get away. As he does go, whenever he slams into the ground, he does throw himself upwards and directly onto the man's hand, him digging his hands directly into the man's arm. As Midoriya, he doesn't go to reach downwards and crack. Now, the king, he does feel pain, as he does let go of Midoriya, who was trying to break his arm. Now, as it does happen, we do actually have where Midoriya, he does then jump backwards. And the king, he's quite surprised, since Midoriya, he's the first opponent to actually not only land hits on him, but to make him bleed in years. You are quite strong. Thanks. You're not too bad yourself. I didn't know a wolf could get this strong. It's quite impressive. You don't know a lot about me. Now, the man does come to rush in. Midoriya hearing him stomp furiously as he does decide to stay on guard. Now, as it does actually happen, the king, he does get a rush in, him going to throw a right jab. Midoriya, he does directly see that, bringing his hands up and stopping the attack dead in its tracks, as he does start to move backwards. As Midoriya does stop the jab, the king does try to throw up his left arm and jab outwards with that one. Midoriya then going to directly slam the king down in his forearm into his right, as Midoriya, he does then go to throw a direct jab with his left elbow upwards into the king's face. And the king, he does get hit, Midoriya causing the king to have a bloody nose as he does then come back in. The king seeing Midoriya's claws, as Midoriya does go to slash directly across the man's chest. The man trying to move backwards, Midoriya, he does rush forwards aggressively. And he does come in with his left hand. Now, everyone is quite shocked, as Midoriya, him and the king do fight. And people, they do see this bloodbath. The floor is being soaked in blood. Midoriya and the king are just going at it over and over. And we do have when Midoriya, he does lunge into the king, as he does slam him directly in the chest with a foot. The king directly grabs Midoriya's leg, as Midoriya, he does just do one thing. He tries to bring up his right leg and directly kick the man into the neck. As Midoriya, he does do that, he does spin his body, and he does break his leg. As we do then have where he does then get let go by the king. After the king, he got slammed in the side of the neck. And Midoriya, he does smash directly onto the ground, as people do see him go to get back up. My, you must be quite in a bit of pain. Midoriya standing on his foot, as he doesn't go to bring his hand downwards. The man watching Midoriya, he does just flip his foot to the left with a lot of force. And it does go from being twisted backwards to twisting back around, as you do actually see where Midoriya, he does just put weight on it. My. That's pretty brutal. Thanks. Trust me. This is nothing. Now, people do watch this, as Midoriya, he does rush forwards towards the king, and the king, he does rush forwards as well. Midoriya slamming him directly in the gut as the king doesn't bother to guard, and the king doing the exact same thing. And people, they do watch. These two are iron fortresses holding their ground against one another. They're not even bothering to defend anymore. They know that if they want to, they can draw this fight on for days, if not, possibly even months. Now, they've already been at this for an hour, and not one of them have budged or at least given ground to one another. And Midoriya and the king, they're finally settling this here and now. punching over and over and over again. The king slamming a fist into Midoriya's face and knocking out a couple of teeth. Midoriya is saying an uppercut the man's way, as the man, he does at least have his jaw get dislocated. And Midoriya, he does face off against the man. Now, this is where everything is settled. Midoriya and the king do slam each other in the faces. As Midoriya, he does go flying backwards and smashing into the ground. And the king, he does barely stay on his feet. Him going to fall forwards onto his knee, as we do have where somebody does go to at least walk forwards and announce that the king has won. And that he will keep his title. As the person to come walking forwards, you have where Midoriya, he does go to get back up. And he does sit up before he does get back up slowly. And the king, he does see Midoriya. Midoriya being able to stand back up onto his feet, as he does then look at the king. Now, Midoriya's pain tolerance has run out at least sometime 20 minutes into their battle, and is nothing but pure adrenaline and determinations keeping him here. Midoriya asking the king if he can still continue. Midoriya bringing his hands up, and the king, he does just stare at Midoriya, as he does begin to somewhat laugh. Him attempting to get back up onto his feet, as he does stand there steady. And Midoriya, he does watch as the king does go to move forwards as he does as well. Now, Midoriya and the king, they do both collide fist. Midoriya, as soon as he does punch into the king's hand does break. As so does his wrist and then his arm. As the king sent flying backwards and smashes into the arena. Now, as it does happen, we know from Midoriya, he does then go to move forwards and fall onto the ground, as he does catch himself on that hand. Now, Midoriya, he's sitting there on his hands and knees, and he's breathing heavily. Shit. He should have won, right? This can't be over. It has to be him as the winner. Now, Midoriya would look up, as he does expect the king to get back up and try to face him. However, we do actually have where the announcers walk over and look at the king, as Midoriya's twist and well, turn their arm the opposite direction, along with the amount of damage he's caused to this man. As they do announce that the current king, he is down for the count. And that does mean that the new contender here is the leader of the nation of the Onis, effective immediately. Now, Midoriya, he does begin to somewhat smile, and he does think that at least now he has some ground to gain with the 10 nations. As he does also just think, he's going to take a nap real quick, him smashing forwards onto the ground. Now, with that being said, Midoriya, he's faced off against an opponent that he almost lost against, and he was both impressed and intrigued. This man, he didn't do anything evil to him. He wasn't a tyrant. And Midoriya, he was able to actually have a friendly fight with this man. He was impressed. And if you do have to put it into a word, almost happy. Now, with that being said, Midoriya, he is allowed to be taken away to be healed, as he does then wake up in a bed and go to sit up, as he's very confused. Now, he does pull his hand away from his face and see that he's in a bed. Along with that, he's wearing some strange long sleeve shirts. What the fuck am I wearing? That would be a royal garment. Midoriya, turning his head, is going to bring up his hand. Now, Midoriya, he did bring up 2 claws directly to this person that is sitting next to him. And exactly who are you? I'm sorry, sir. I would be your advisor. And, well, I would please like you to not raise a hand to me. I'm here to help you. Okay. Thank you, young man. But don't call me sir. Now, the person that's sitting next to Midoriya, they do look at him confused. What are they supposed to call him then? Uh, okay. I can't use Dorzaya, because that's a slave name. Now, Midoriya would just tell this man to call him sir, and leave it at that. As the person does to say, yes sir. Midoriya is going to stand as he does ask exactly where his allies are, or where his quote-unquote friends are. And the person they would inform Midoriya. A group of women did say that they were his friends, or at least his traveling companions. And they did not know if this man was, or these women were all speaking the truth. It was said that they all entered the arena together. Is that true, sir? Yes. Now, please bring me my allies. Now, the boy would quickly stand up and go to run away. And Midoriya, he does just look at this situation. Okay. Well now. Fuck. Okay. Maybe he might actually have to start giving his name. But he's going to cross that bridge when he gets there. Now, meanwhile, we do have with the hero who is summoned. He has been informed of his purpose. And he has been training. Apparently, he's here to save the world. This was quite surprising and confusing to him. However, he believes that he's starting to get the hang of it. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.